Welcome to the Alouettes Flightdeck, the podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football. I'm Cliffy D, and you can follow me on Twitter at Cliffy D.
And I'm Tim Capper. You can also follow me on Twitter, but at Repact. That's REPPACT. And this episode of the podcast is presented by our good friends over at SportBuff, where if you use the promo code FlightDeck-10 at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order. So head over to sportbuffshop.com, use the code, save some money, and enjoy your new merch.
And of course, the Alouettes Flightdeck is all over the internet. You can find the archive of our entire 7-season run over at www.alouettesflightdeck.ca. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at AlouettesFLDeck. You can find us on Instagram at instagram.com/AlouettesFlightdeck, or talk to us on Facebook at facebook.com/AlouettesFlightdeckPod. If you want to check out our merch store, you can do so at teespring.com/stores/AlouettesFlightdeck. And make sure you check out the Alouettes Flightdeck on YouTube over at youtube.com/AlouettesFlightdeck. Please like, please comment, and please subscribe to the channel.
That's right. And just as a reminder, we are going to be giving away the jacket as promised because you were so helpful in getting us to our goal of 100+ followers over on our YouTube page. Stay tuned for that. And as I said, that drawing will be done before the end of our 2022 broadcast season. So before we get into the game this week, and I had not known until I heard it on TV, by the way, that this was the first time that games meant nothing in a CFL week since the first time since the Alouettes returned in '96. I had no clue, by the way. That's mind blowing, but good for the league, obviously. If you happen to see what I wrote on social media today, as the day that we are taping this, Cliff, on November 2nd, 2022, we are at the 25th anniversary of the infamous, people are calling it different things that I've talked to today, the infamous U2 game over at Percival Molson Stadium. So we're back in 1997 because of a booking conundrum with U2 taking the Big O for their Pop Mart tour concert. The Alouettes had to find another place to play, and they went and decided to play at what was then a dilapidated Percival Molson Stadium, but it blew up into what we know for the Alouettes and what we know of Percival Molson today. And I think, Cliff, you will agree with me. And if anybody disagrees with me, please let me know that I think that if that game had not occurred, Cliff, and we had not started playing full-time at Percival Molson Stadium in '98, we would not have a team today.
I completely and unequivocally agree with that. It was a tumultuous time, folks. 1996, 1997, when the Alouettes relocated from Baltimore. That's right, Baltimore, back into the CFL, back into the fold. It was interesting, folks. It was an interesting time. And yes, there was that conundrum, I think is a great way to describe it, of, U2 had a concert scheduled. And let's face it, U2 at the time, still one of, if not the biggest acts in the world. So if they want to take over a stadium that holds 60,000 plus, they're going to. And if the Alouettes, who were playing at the Olympic Stadium at the time, they got a game, and U2's like, well, screw you. we got this first. So, sort yourselves out. And sure enough, the Alouettes did. There was a little bit of scrambling, and it's like, okay, let's go back to Percival Molson Stadium. I'm like, hold on. Outdoor football in November. Oh my gosh, I'm in. Let's do this. And I still remember going to that game. I'm aging myself here as a young lad, but going to that game, and I just remember it being electric. I'm like, they should do this all the time. They should have football played here all the time. And lo and behold, Tim, they did start playing football there all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think it rekindled everybody's love for the Alouettes. Everybody realized, oh crap, we've got a football team, and they're pretty good. They could maybe win a Grey Cup one of these days. That's how good they are. I got to get tickets for this. I got to be a season seat holder. Whatever it takes. Like, all of a sudden, Percival Molson Stadium became the place to be in Montreal. It didn't help that the Canadians, I think, were kind of going through one of their typical lulls as far as relevance in the sporting world of Quebec. The Expos were more or less in the same boat. So here comes this relatively new shiny toy in the Montreal Alouettes. And they're playing in the playoff game, and they're pretty good. So yeah, it sparked that fire. It got people excited and thinking about Alouettes football again. And the rest, as they say, is history. Here we are now, 25 years later, getting ready for another playoff game to be played at Percival Molson Stadium, which thankfully they poured money into, and it's not so dilapidated after all.
No,
it still has a kind of, it's still not like, the modern sexy stadiums that you see like out in Saskatchewan or out in Winnipeg. But my God,
is anything in Saskatchewan or Winnipeg actually sexy?
I'll have to get back to you on that. Can we get a ruling somewhere else?
Yeah.
But I digress.
Maybe the CFL can make that tally and then change their minds and make it again.
Oh,
the zing!
Oh, somebody woke up and chose violence.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in our news section this week. By the way, what I'm referencing.
But yes, just all this to say that yes, had you two not kind of forced the Alouettes' hand and made them relocate the Eastern semifinal game to Percival Molson Stadium, yeah, I think it's a pretty safe bet to say that I don't think we'd be doing this podcast because the Alouettes wouldn't be around. Mm-hmm. Like maybe this would be like the Atlantic Schooners podcast. Who knows? Yeah. Or maybe we would have become the Ottawa podcast.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And it's funny. You're almost at, I think it was almost word for word, because I spoke with Coach Machocha today after practice. I had a chance to head up to practice that was over at Percival Molson today. And I asked him about that, and he agreed with me too. He agreed with us, actually, saying that, yeah, it's almost a certainty that we would not have football today, pro football in Montreal today, if it wasn't for you two and that whole thing that happened.
Yeah, because it just sparked everything, really, when you think about it. Like the fact that Montreal, football in the province of Quebec, like whether you're talking about like at the grassroots level, university, cégep, you name it.
Wow! Well, yeah,
exploded.
Would you Laval actually, with the Rouge, would they exist? Would they have become the powerhouse that they are? Would UDM, Sherbrooke,
Exactly. Like you think about it, like that really did light a fire. Like that created the buzz, the excitement. You think Laurent Duvernay-Tardif would be winning a Super Bowl for the Kansas City Chiefs if he wasn't playing football at McGill because of being able to go to Alouettes games at Percival Molson Stadium? I mean, it all starts somewhere, folks, and that's really what it comes down to is here in Quebec, that moment in time, with the relocation of that playoff game, that revitalized the Alouettes and just created that love for football, and it just grew, like I said, like wildfire. It really is something. So props to you two.
Yeah, I agree. And also, this is another reason why I had tweeted out earlier in the week on social media that I hope this was something that was an Alouettes tradition every Sunday game when the Alouettes had them at home. They need to play Sunday Bloody Sunday in honor, as an homage to you two, as a thank you for saving this franchise.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I know the team, for whatever reason, has done away with playing country roads at the games, which is disappointing. And it's kind of funny to think that here I am disappointed not playing a country song at a football stadium. But yeah, I definitely think, yes, even though we haven't had a Sunday game in ages, I completely agree. You have to play Sunday Bloody Sunday this coming Sunday at Percival Molson Stadium for the Eastern semifinal.
Yeah,
you have to.
And for those who are wondering, it's like, what's the big deal? Why, if you two had not taken over the stadium, it wouldn't have been so bad playing at the Big O. Well, yes, that year, 1997 was very. When it came to attendance, because of what occurred in 1996 and how the fans felt that Jim Spiros had treated the season ticket holders that year. 97, even though the Wet Nulls were already in, the attendance was abysmal for the Big O. I mean, dude, our high that year was 12,300 people. Our low was 6,700. Yeah. You do not want a playoff game in a cavernous monstrosity that is the Big O. The 16,000 that showed up at Percival Molson Stadium was perfect. It started exactly what needed to be. And yeah, so the team returned, for the first time, I think, since the early 70s to Percival Molson. So again, if you guys are going to the game this week, just remember, because of you two, especially if they play that song, which I hope they do, that's why we're here this week to watch the game at Percival Molson Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
The league had some great announcements this week when it came to finalists and stuff like that. We'll be talking about that in our next segment, in our news segment. But first, obviously, even though it was a game that really didn't mean anything standings-wise, I still think it meant a lot for the team itself and for the players. The Alouettes finished off the 2022 regular season by playing the Toronto Argonauts in Toronto last Saturday, and they came away with a score. Nonetheless, I would still say it was a convincing 38-33 win over the Toronto Argonauts.
I would say so. And I'm glad you said meaningless in the standings because, yeah, it's easy to say that, okay, all 4 of these games last weekend were by and large meaningless. And I guess to the average fan, it would be because it had no effect on the playoff picture. It had no effect on anything. These truly were glorified preseason games. But you know what? It still meant something to guys that were chasing individual records, if they were chasing certain incentives for playing time or being able to reach certain benchmarks. So, and also too, the rookies that were going to be given a chance to see actual game time, as some veterans were taking, taking the day off or the week off, however you want to phrase it. This was their opportunity to show, like, hey, I should be in this conversation. I should be a part of this team. I'm here to contribute if given the opportunity. Well, guess what? This is your opportunity, and you got to make the most of it. So for those guys, for these young hopefuls that may not be the superstars or household names that you expect them to be in 2022, 2-3 years down the road, they'll be looking back like, yeah, I remember I got my first start, or I made that great play happen in that last game of 2022. And maybe in 2-3 years, we'll be talking about, hey, remember back in 2022 when so-and-so did this? Look where he's gone now. Like, that's what it is. So to call these games meaningless is not accurate. Meaningless when it comes to the standings, yes, I'll give you that. But to say that these games are meaningless, no, not for these guys. Not for the guys that are stepping on the field, whether they're veterans or rookies finally getting their chance to shine.
Yep.
These games are not quote unquote meaningless.
Yep, and I still like seeing a 9-9 record rather than an 8-10.
Yeah, for the second year in a row, the Alouettes are even Steven when it comes to their record.
Yep.
So I mean, progress. Well, not really progress, but not regress.
No,
so
it's still 2 more wins though.
Status quo, and
we ended up in second.
Also 2 more losses, but
yeah, but still we ended up in second, we're still hosting a game. So
that's true. I mean, that's a big difference. Last year, the Alouettes kind of fell ass backwards into the playoffs and just did not show up. Truthfully, they really truly did not show up for the Eastern semifinal in Hamilton.
No, but
now they are hosting against Hamilton.
That's right, and we'll talk about that in our last segment. Again, 38-33 was the final score. The Alouettes outscored the Argonauts 21-7 in the first quarter alone. Dominic Davis, who really has not been getting many reps this year at all, it's basically been the third down back. And by the way, or short yardage back. Congratulations on setting the team record for most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in a season with 13. He surpassed Vernon Adams, who set the record of 12 back in 2019. He was damn near perfect, less for 1 interception. He had one hell of a half.
Oh my, did he ever. And to the point where even on Twitter, like just looking at Red Blacks fans absolutely losing their minds because they had Dominique Davis and he was not great as a starting quarterback with the Red Blacks. Then all of a sudden he comes out and he's like the next Peyton Manning all of a sudden. And you're like, where the hell was this Dominique Davis when he was in Ottawa? Like, well, you had him. You just didn't know how to use him, I guess. Or perhaps he's just spent so much time on the bench soaking up all the knowledge of the quarterbacks before him that, yeah, when it was his time to step onto the field and show what he can do, that's what he can do. So it was mind-blowing just how crisp, how perfect his passes were, aside from that 1 interception, of course. But all of his other passes just looked terrific. The touchdowns he threw, oh my, things of beauty.
Yeah, taking advantage of the offsides penalty on Toronto and throwing the first touchdown pass in the first quarter to the Cole Speaker, who was also starting his very first pro game, and obviously that was his very first pro touchdown. That was a thing of beauty, and it's people may say, well, Tim and Cliff, they were playing, not all the number ones for Toronto. Don't tell that to the other players. Sure, we can call this it may have been a glorified preseason game, but this one was a little bit more than a preseason game.
Well, I mean, it counts in the standings first and foremost.
Well, yeah, and I think that the rosters too, just alone by showing who rested and who didn't. Because I will admit, Chad Kelly put on a great show for Toronto too. So I mean, there was no slouch by him either. So
no, he started off kind of shaky, but once he got himself settled, yeah, he actually looked really solid. Like to the point where if God forbid something were to happen to McLeod Bethel Thompson, like he could step in and he could lead, which is has got to be a relief for Argos fans. That okay? I mean, like you knew about the hype with this kid. I mean, the fact that he's the nephew of Jim Kelly, the famous Buffalo Bills quarterback. I mean, he had that famous name to the point where a lot of people were actually kind of wishing that Rod Black was still around, so just they could remind us who Chad Kelly's uncle is. But no, he did play a pretty solid game as well. I mean, again, like everybody else, made some mistakes, but did some really solid work too. So I mean, yeah, like I think with a little bit more seasoning, yeah, he could find himself in the conversation as quarterback for this team 2-3 years down the road. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's talk about the guys who played really in the starters, the normal starters and stuff like that, who played in the first half. Obviously, Dominic Davis, as we mentioned before, had a hell of a game. I mean, he was 13 of 14, 166 yards, an interception, and 2 TDs. Just a fantastic day all around. I mean, and also he had that another rushing touchdown. That's the one that put him over the top for the record for the Alouettes, for the team record for the Alouettes. Even though we got only 4 carries, William Stanback actually did impress me quite a bit because he looks like he's becoming the William Stanback of old. And I can just imagine that if the Alouettes team and O-line is completely different than it was last year in Hamilton, wow, Stanback, Fletcher, this is what you and I talked. I remember specifically talking about last year about having a two-headed back system. I can only imagine what it could be like this week. But William, I said only 4 carries for 23 yards, but he still impressed me.
Yeah, no, I feel like I got a feeling that he's pretty much shaken off the rust now. Like from that first game that he got injured to his comeback, I think this is now his 3rd or 4th game back. So I would say that he's pretty much got the rust shaken off now. So I think now he can focus. I think he's feeling good. He's feeling himself now. He looks like he's ready to go. Like he's ready for the games that count. And I fully expect him to go off this Sunday. Like I think if Trevor Harris is finding himself just not being able to connect with receivers for whatever reason, he knows he can go to that ground game. And he's got Stanback. He's got Fletcher. He's got Jeshua Antwi. I mean, he's got a myriad of options in the backfield. And I fully expect if things start going south for whatever reason, or it's just not clicking in the air, I fully expect him to lean on Stanback and just say, here you go, man, just take the rock and do your thing. And he will. I have a feeling Stanback, given the opportunity, is going to run roughshod over Hamilton if given the opportunity.
Yeah, I think so too. Also, KGG getting that touchdown late in the first quarter.
Nice little touchdown too.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? I mean, it's a lot of the Canadians that played today too really on Sunday really impressed me. So it's
and you think about it, like he was back in his hometown, so to speak. I mean, I think he grew up in I want to say Brampton or Mississauga. So I mean, like in the greater Toronto area in any event. So yeah, for him to score a touchdown at home, so to speak, had been pretty cool. Had to be a good feeling for him. And I've been saying for weeks, you've got to get K-On in the offense a lot more. And this was the perfect opportunity. And once again, now you get to see what this guy can do. He now becomes a part of that conversation, like in that already stacked wide receivers room. It's like, guys, give me the ball. I can do great things. And it's just a matter now Trevor's got to keep his eye open for number 11, because if he's out there and he's flying down the field, just got to hit him in stride, and he will make good things happen.
And it was interesting too, by the way, how the Alouettes, because it came out after we did the taping last week. It was interesting how the Alouettes set up their depth chart. I mean, they moved Tyson over to the left side slot back, and they put Colt Speaker at the right hand slot back. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting twist. But it worked well. It worked well, obviously. I mean, it's Cole did what he needed to do, and Tyson had a good game too. Talking about first half, the first half, Davis Alexander got his very first touchdown as an Alouette and as a pro. It was instead of it being Dominic Davis, it was him getting a 1-yard touchdown sneak. So, and
he got his opportunity to be the short yardage guy, and he made the most of it. So,
yep.
Congrats to Davis. Like I said, it's always exciting to score your first professional touchdown, and now he can say that yes, he did that.
But then we move into the second half, and we'll bring everybody into the picture here. Davis Alexander, he actually had 5 carries for 22 yards. A lot of that was on an amazing drive that he had in the second half, where the Alouettes just were shooting themselves in the foot. It was back-to-back penalties. They were 1st and 25, if I remember correctly. I think it was 1st and 25, and on 2 straight plays, Alexander was able to get them back into scoring, get back into the chance to score again by a run and one by a pass, and it was just he showed poise. You really can't look at his stats, but he really did show poise.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of his stats were not super favorable. Let's be honest, but I think a lot of it was. Okay, his first action. So, I mean, what do you expect out of a rookie? I mean, give him the first opportunity to play. He's going to do what he does. Rookie's going to rookie. But, as you said, he showed good poise. It didn't look like he was overwhelmed by anything.
No,
I think a lot of them,
not at all.
If anything, I think he was trying a little too hard to try and make certain plays happen, and that's why they didn't quite work out. I mean, again, not his fault. It's just you take a chance. If it works, you look great. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work.
His interception.
What are you going to do?
His interception. Yeah.
And also to the intentional grounding in the end zone, which unfortunately is a safety. And again, these are just things that you kind of look back, and I'm pretty sure he's looked back on the tape and said, "Oh man, okay, next time that's not going to happen again."
We've been watching him since day one in practice. He's become another one of our day one guys, and the guy's been absolutely amazing. So I mean, just to see him work, because I think it was Danny Mac at the fan day where he said that Davis Alexander, could be or is the future quarterback for the Alouettes. I agree. After seeing Tim, it was during a meaningless game. Dude, don't tell it to them again. He looked really, really good, even though he went 8 of 13, only 89 yards. And an interception, but he did have the rushing touchdown. But still, I think he did look good, and he commended. He was able to lead this team quite well.
And we got to see that for the most part this past Saturday. Yeah, he made mistakes. He made rookie mistakes. That's going to happen. I'm sure there's a couple of things he would have loved to have had back. But you know what? The good things that he did, as you said, the poise. Didn't panic when the pocket collapsed around him. He just tucked the ball under his arm and went for a run. Had a good connect. I think he had good chemistry with his receivers for the most part. Like I said, a lot of the things that didn't go quite right weren't entirely his fault. But at the same time, he still faced the music, still got up and said, you know what, there's a lot of things I need to work on. These mistakes, they're on me. I got to be better, and I will be better. I mean, to me, that's all you can ask from your quarterback or from anybody on this team playing their first game. It's like, okay, you went out there, you learned, you got an opportunity to make the mistakes so you can learn from those mistakes, and you still managed to do some pretty good things too. I mean, you really can't ask for more than that for a rookie in their first professional football game. And it's just going to make us want to see more, as far as I'm concerned. And I think this opportunity is not going to be his last. He's gonna have an opportunity to play some more.
Sure. And by the way, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the guys, everybody who was able to put their name on the stat sheet this week. Joshua Antwi led the team in rushing yards with 59 on 11 carries. Fletcher only had 3 carries for 15 yards. Did they limit his touches this week? Because I know he didn't get a catch either, but I'm guessing they may have limited him like they did for Stanback.
I think so. I think they were wise to do that.
And by the way, I feel bad, again, Jeshwin, for the second year in a row, the dude fumbles in the last game of the year as they're in scoring position. I felt so bad for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I had flashbacks to that game last year versus Ottawa for him, and I felt bad. I'm like, oh, Jeshwin. I mean, such a good dude, and you see he has worked so hard this year. Like he's had a good year. He's had a really good year, and yeah, like I really hope people don't just think of him as that guy, the guy who fumbles late in the season kind of thing. I hope not, because he's not that guy. He is, as I said, a hard worker. He's definitely a big part of this offense, and again, it was just a bad day at the office in that sense. I think overall, though, his overall work was pretty good. He did to me, I think he did what he needed to do to get himself ready for this game, and I expect him to see him get some touches as well this coming Sunday.
KJG, 4 receptions, 4 targets, 55 yards, and a touchdown. Jeff Shonantui, 3 receptions, 4 targets, 20 yards. Stanbick only had 1. It was 1 for 3. Cole Speaker, 6 receptions, 7 targets. That one was that other target, by the way, was the interception. But he did lead the team in yards. So his very first game, Cliff, his very first 100-yard game, had 105 yards and a touchdown. Tyson Philpott, 5 receptions on 6 targets, 47 yards. And lastly, Kevin Kaya, 2 receptions, 5 targets for 25 yards. Not bad at all. But we also be remiss too if we didn't talk about the defense, because yes, it's like, Tim, aren't you missing 7 points? Well, yes, we are. We are missing 7 points, aren't we, Cliff?
Well, actually, that technically can go to special teams. I know what you're referring to.
True. Sorry. True. Yeah.
But the defense did play very well too. Obviously, they got in Chad Kelly's face and made his day a little bit long and a little bit tough. So. Like especially Chris Aki. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but Aki. Yeah, I know. It's some of the guys that we really. I said we still had some of our ones playing.
Yep.
So absolutely. I mean, got to give it to. At least it wasn't a butt fumble. But Jabari Ellis, man, woo, nice.
And it's so funny too, because it was coming off the heels essentially of the kick return house call that the Argos made to start off the second half.
I know.
So just when you're like all down in the dumps about special teams, like, oh my God, okay, so fine, they're taking today off, whatever, okay. Even though Chandler Worthy was doing pretty good with his returns, it seemed like the rest of the special teams kind of fell asleep at that kick return touchdown by the Argos. But then Jabari Ellis went and woke everybody the F up with that unbelievable block and recovery in the end zone. Wow. Yeah. He ate his Wheaties that morning.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it was a nice thing to see. I really admit. Other quick things I think that are just as a standout is that second down. Go ahead, Cliff. What were you going to say?
Let's not forget David Cote. A perfect 1-for-1, kind of exhuming that demon from. Was it week 2 or week 3 when the Alouettes played and could have won the game, but unfortunately he did not make that 21-yard field goal.
Yeah.
To win the game. But I think in a small way he kind of redeemed himself. He kind of got that monkey off his back to say that, okay, well, listen, I can score field goals at BMO Field, no problem. So props to David for that.
Yep. And remember how I've been harping on the last couple of weeks about second down conversions? Dude, how'd you like to go off on a 70% clip? Owls were 16 of 23 on second down conversions.
That's beautiful.
That's great.
And it's funny. For everyone making the argument, but you were playing the 2s and the 3s of the Argos. Well, guess what? We were playing 2s and 3s ourselves too. I mean, like it's, when it works, it works. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And yeah, I mean, this team, by and large, we're clicking on all cylinders.
And by the way, 2 weeks in a row having a penalty for too many men? What the hell?
That's it. Yeah, it's a little hard to defend that. I mean, the first one was really hard to defend, but the second, like, seriously, guys, yeah. I mean, and again, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Exactly. It is what it is. And again, still the Alouettes do win 9-9 on the regular season. I still think that it was a positive year considering what happened in game 1.
And let's not forget, there was a lot of moves made this year that drew a lot of attention. And some people were in favor of those moves. A lot of people were not in favor of these moves. And we pretty much said, listen, if these are the moves that have to be made, then so be it. But you better produce winning results. And 9-9, it's not losing, but not technically winning either. I mean, let's face it, this Alouettes team has been very fortunate to win the games they have, and fortunate to have not lost the games that they've not lost. I mean, this team still has to show itself. There's no question. And I think in a lot of ways, I feel like they've hit their stride. I think they actually are playing pretty solid football. Is solid football going to be enough to beat Hamilton? Possibly. Is solid football going to be enough to beat Toronto? Maybe. But is solid football enough to beat whoever is going to be in the West? No. So now I think coasting and getting by on solid football was fine for the regular season. You did what you had to do. You secured the playoff game. Anything can happen in the playoffs. We know this. But now is not the time to be playing solid football. You need to be now playing your best possible football.
Exactly. I agree. And with us this week is a gentleman who we are hoping that he will become the new starting quarterback for the Montreal Alouettes in the near future. On the phone with us right now is number 17, quarterback Davis Alexander. Hey, Davis, thanks for joining us.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure for sure.
Obviously, it was great to see you on the field this time in a regular season game this week, Davis. Was there any different preparation that you went through for this game versus Toronto versus what you had done previously during the regular season?
Like I said, the boring answer is, you prepare for every game the same. But I think we all know. It definitely meant a little more to me, knowing that I was going to be able to play, in a regular season game. So, slightly a little bit different preparation, I guess. But for the most part, relatively the same, covering all your reads and all your hot throws and all your bases like that. But, just getting more reps in practice, too. I guess that's part of preparation, too.
Mm-hmm. How would you rate your performance? Because I saw your post-game interview that you did with Joey Alfieri. You took responsibility for everything. We saw you play, but how, as a quarterback, how did you feel that you performed?
I wish, honestly, I wish I played a little better. I thought I played okay. I thought I was relatively pretty accurate with the ball. I didn't feel like I missed many throws, but obviously I have the crucial interception in the red zone, where we're already, no matter what, locked in for points.
Mm-hmm.
And I just made a play, the previous play before, on 2nd and 6 to get us a first down. Worst case scenario, I just got to eat that and, move on to 2nd and 10, worst case scenario. And then the safety, I got to find a way. I felt like I honestly got rid of the ball to the flat just to kind of dirt it, but obviously we didn't get the call there, so I got called for the intentional grounding. But that's something, just more experience, and I got to find a way. That can't happen. I can't give away points no matter what the situation is. Pressure off the edge, I got to find a way to dirt it. But I thought we sustained some long drives. I think that helped our defense out a lot. I think we had 2 drives over 5 minutes. Maybe I'm wrong, but I know we for sure had one. But then we had another drive down to the red zone. We had a fumble, but I definitely thought I could have played better.
But I mean, you
oh,
did.
Geez, Davis, if I didn't know any better, you were playing your first professional football game. Sheesh. I mean, don't beat yourself up too much, man.
No, I know, but just I hold myself to a high standard, and I expect nothing less from everybody else. I want to be. Obviously, it's going to take time, and it was my first game or whatever, but I'm not much of an excuses guy at all. So I just, I'm going to critique myself as hard as possible and, find a way to be better next time.
Oh yeah, for
That's
sure.
What counts, man. It's just taking advantage of the opportunities that you have and just learning from them. And that's really what it is. It's an opportunity to learn and to grow.
For sure. Yeah. And I think, a couple throws I made, I put them in maybe a little better spot. They're easier catches, and then we're looking at, a totally different ball game. But yeah, it's all good.
Let's talk about something positive for you, though. Well, let's talk about that. Your first career professional touchdown. It was on you're basically taking the place of Dominic Davis because you were the short yardage quarterback at that time, and you scored your touchdown. Now, my question to you is, where do you currently have that football?
Oh, it's here in my room right now with me. Yeah, I'm gonna obviously bring that home. I have not decided what I'm gonna do with it yet. I might give it to one of my family members. I might keep it and stow it away. I'm not really sure yet. I'm open to taking ideas too.
I mean, how did it make you feel? Being your first career touchdown.
Yeah, it's definitely a special moment. It's kind of one of those things where it's like you've worked, I don't want to say your whole life, but really your whole life for moments like that. You know what I mean? And it meant something to me for sure. It felt like another milestone to check off, but wish I could have got a passing one too.
Well,
in time.
Exactly. You have many opportunities, David, for sure, man. Speaking of lifetime in football, I mean, how long have you been playing football? What got you into football originally?
Oh, I've been playing since so I started flag football when I was 4 in Scottsdale, Arizona, and then I started tackle football. Oh boy, I think I was 6 years old in Oakland, California. I was not very good. I was playing 2 years up. My mom my mom faked my birth certificate, like made a fake birth certificate so I can play football early. And I was playing against guys 2 years older than me, and I was just getting dominated. I was playing like lineman, playing a little bit of safety. At that age, they stick you anywhere. But yeah, I started at 6 years old, tackle football.
Scandalous.
Wow.
Yeah.
Faking the birth certificate. I mean, good thing you're not playing Little League Baseball, man. That's some serious stuff.
Yeah, but usually it's the other way around, right? Usually they try and make you seem younger than you are. This one, my mom wanted to make me seem older.
This is true. Okay. What inspired you to become a quarterback?
I would say, like, just seeing it on TV and playing video games. Everybody, when you're playing Madden, you're the quarterback. Like little stuff like that. And I'm a very competitive person. In baseball, I played shortstop. I didn't really play basketball, so the cliche answer would be point guard. But baseball, I played shortstop and pitcher. I just always liked having the ball in your hands and it being on your shoulders. But I would say definitely like seeing some of the stars on TV and playing Madden and being the quarterback and being in control and seeing how fun it looked.
All right. And when you got to Portland State University, what was it about Portland State that appealed to you as far as wanting to progress and grow your career in football? Yeah,
the head coach there now, Bruce Barnum, when he was recruiting me, he was actually the interim head coach. And they had a stellar year. I think they went 9-3. They went to the playoffs for the first time in a long time. I don't remember the years, but they had a stellar year. And just the staff and the way they recruited me, I could tell that they really cared about me. It just felt like a comfortable place. And, I love the city. So that was another factor. And then it was close to home, so my family could still watch. It's only about a 2.5 hour drive from Seattle, but it was far enough from home where it felt like, I was out and, I could do my own thing, so it just all lined up and just felt like a great spot to begin my college career.
Right. And for our listeners who may not be too familiar with the Big Sky Conference, how would you best describe it?
I mean, it's extremely competitive, from top to bottom. I'm sure every year, there are some familiar faces at the top, but every year you have one team that comes out of nowhere and finishes, in that top 4 range and reaches the playoffs. So you can't take any game for granted, for sure. So I remember last year we went into Weber State. They're, high power in that conference, and I think we were 18-point underdogs or something like that, and we went in and I think we beat them like 31-15. So it's just it's one of those deals where you don't play a bad team on the schedule. So
pretty impressive.
Yeah, very much so.
And then finally, when your time was done at Portland State, obviously you still want to you want to keep the dream going. You want to continue to play football. How did you find out about the Canadian Football League? Like, what led you essentially to coming to Montreal?
Yeah. Well, it's honestly kind of a crazy story. So actually, my 5th week of my senior season, I hyperextended my elbow and I tore my UCL, which is your Tommy John ligament. And I also fractured my elbow, an avulsion fracture. So they actually told me after the game, we got an MRI, whatever. I finished the game. After the game, got an MRI. And, they called me in. It's never a good sign. Doctor calls you in and, they were like, well, you're not going to like this news. And the head coach was there too. And they're talking about like telling me to retire basically and, start coaching and all this stuff. And I'm sitting there like, what? What are you talking about? I'm not retiring. And then they went on to tell me, you tore your UCL. And I'm a baseball guy, right? So, I hear UCL, Tommy John. I'm like, yeah, I'm done. But then the part that confused me is I was able to finish the game, without, it hurt a little bit. But so I was like, you know what? Just give me an opportunity and let me see if I can play on this or, whatever. So we basically went week to week. I didn't practice every week and went week to week and played on it. And I was able to play pretty well. And then by the end of the year, got another MRI on it, just basically to clear me, so I can move on and try and play at the professional level. And they said that the scar tissue built itself back and is functioning as the UCL. So kind of a crazy story, didn't think I'd be honestly able to play, but here I am now with no issues. And anyway, so back to the question, my head coach had told me, because we had scouts come through all the time, NFL scouts, CFL scouts, and he had told me all the that there were a couple CFL teams that were highly interested in me. He wouldn't tell me the names. I'm gonna guess Montreal was one of them, but wouldn't tell me the names. And he asked me, would you be interested? I was like, oh yeah, heck yeah, of course. I've watched CFL a little bit, not a whole lot, but I was definitely, if it was on TV, I'd turn it on. And then kind of had the conversation of just totally foregoing, like trying to get NFL looks. And just was like, I'm ready to go play in the CFL right away and just kind of get that knocked out of the way and no stress of, trying to sign to another team. So, got an agent, figured out I'd been on Montreal's negotiation list for about a year. And then as soon as I figured that out, I kind of just told my agent, let's get a deal done and like to sign as soon as possible. And I ended up signing in February.
Wow. Nice and easy.
Yeah, very quick too.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm still trying to process the fact that your scar tissue has basically become your UCL. Like, are you Wolverine? Like your body's able just to heal from injury?
Well, yeah. I mean, I honestly, it's I don't want to sound like that guy, but they said 1% chance, and I got lucky, and 1% here I am, and I have no velocity issues, and my arm still feels the same, and I can still lift the same. Like I seriously, I mean, knock on wood, there's nothing there. There's no issue.
Wow, that's just good genes, I guess. That's fantastic.
Right.
I got a feeling that Davis is going to be written up into a medical journal very soon about this. That's outstanding.
Yeah, it was awesome.
What was it like? And obviously, you were signed by the Owls. You came to camp. You're a fresh out of university quarterback, and you're getting used to the life of being a professional football player. What was one of the first things that you noticed the most, whether it had been about being a pro or whether it being about the game itself, that really threw you for a loop the most?
Oh man, just camp life. I'm not going to sit here and lie. It's a nerve-wracking time. Because no one knows what their next step is. After. I mean, maybe some people do. I had no idea what my next step would be. Had I not made the football team, or just what I was going to do next. So it was just seeing people come in and out. I'd say that's the thing that's thrown me a little bit for a loop. But I understand it's a business, but just that aspect of it, and guys who had been on the team, for X amount of years, and then next thing you know, they're no longer here with us, So I think that part definitely stood out to me. But the camp life, man, that was stressful. Happy, obviously, with the way it all worked out, but it was a hell of an experience.
Was it what in particular was it? Was it getting used to the new playbook? I mean, as fans, we don't know how many plays are in the book itself, and we don't want you to divulge it, by the way. But what was it? The playbook? Was it just, I said, more nerves, as you just stated, or was it just the idea that you're going up against? I mean, you had 4 guys in camp. Was it just the idea of saying, okay, where do I need to get in order to make the roster?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely part of it. Playbook, to me, the playbook's the easy part. Like, if you put your time into it, you're going to be able, it's going to take experience and, live reps and practice reps for you to really understand the playbook. But, every playbook is basically the same. We all run the same concepts. We all run, it's obviously a little different, the Canadian game and the American game, but relatively, you can take pieces from the American game and bring here. So the playbook's not the most difficult part, but just, and I'm not like a pressure guy. Like pressure doesn't really freak me out that much, but it's just like, you make one bad throw in camp and you're like, do the coaches think I suck? Like, did they totally just miss on me? You know what I mean? That type of deal. And obviously, you never think that because your abilities have already taken you this far, but just, it sits in the very, very back of your mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, you were in a quarterback room in training camp with guys like Vernon Adams Jr., Trevor Harris, Dominique Davis. These are all guys that have played in the CFL for a number of years and had various levels of success. Did you find that were you able to lean on these guys to get insight to how to play in this Canadian game, or did you find you had to learn a lot of stuff on your own?
Honestly, before I came, me and Vernon had worked out before in Seattle, because he's in the Tacoma, Seattle area, and I just wanted to see him and kind of introduce myself. And I worked out with him, and he was super helpful, and just, we're both big Sky guys, and we kind of knew of each other, so that definitely made me feel a little more comfortable for sure. But I would say during camp, you don't. As a rookie quarterback, this is how I was, and Ben was like this then, who was also with us. He was like this. He maybe talked a little more, but I was kind of taught, and my understanding was, kind of ask the veterans questions, but don't necessarily ask them questions during the meetings, because we're all trying to get through this, and we're all trying to pick up right away. So you're not trying to stall the pace at all. So throughout camp, you're kind of like whispering on the side, like, hey, like, why are we doing this? Or what are you thinking here? You know what I mean? And listening to Vernon, Dom, and Trevor have conversations during film and all that, that's kind of where you needed to, be most locked in and understand and try and pick up on the terminology they're using and why they're doing some, talking about some of the stuff they're saying. So that part was definitely key.
So would you say that they were pretty helpful as far as at least getting you up to speed and getting you to understand the Canadian game?
Oh, for sure. And once the regular season started, like even more, or preseason, I should say. Preseason, preparing for preseason, for sure helpful. And then this year, like even when BA was here, but being with Trev and Dom, like they've been so good to me. And I really do feel like I'm learning a ton from these guys. And it's exciting. Trev and Dom, they're both special talents, and they're both truly students of the game. So it's been a hell of an experience here.
That's fantastic. And that's what you want to hear, knowing that, like they say, like a rising tide lifts all boats. So I mean, like, you're only as good as your weakest link. So I mean, like, it's on them to help get you ready for this league, because again, as teammates, you're all in this together. So you want to make sure everybody is performing at the top level.
No doubt.
Now let's talk about this preseason of 2022, because that's where a lot of fans finally got to hear the name Davis Alexander. Most specifically, in your 2 preseason games, you pretty much led some pretty exciting drives to finish each game.
Yeah, preseason was awesome. I mean, is just one of the, like, especially that Hamilton game, I'm going out there and I'm like, you know what, this is my shot, you wouldn't want it any other way. You know what I mean? Game on the line down, let's see, we were down 7, I believe, down 7, 3 minutes to go. I think we were on our own 30 or maybe on 40. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure. But it was an opportunity to show the coaches that I could, play and remain calm, and we were able to do it. And then getting the 2-point conversion, that was awesome. I think they kind of got bailed out with a rough pass interference call. And then the next week to be able to do it again, I think we were down 9. Yeah, I think we were down 9 with 3 minutes to go. And we were able to get a field goal. Defense gets a big 2 and out. We get the ball back, I believe, with like 1:10 to go down and score, and with about 20 seconds to go. And that was a cool feeling. I had a lot of people back home watching, my dad and all that, and ex-teammates, and just a cool moment. Not much more you can ask for in a preseason game.
No, I still remember, like, we were in the stands for that game, and just an absolute. You threw up an absolute prayer to Fabian Guerra, and just outstanding sequence. I mean, you nailed it right there. I mean, at that point, like, we looked at each other like, yeah, we got to keep this guy. There's no question in my mind. He's got to stay put. Yeah, no, it was awesome.
What's it like being obviously you made the roster, but this is a part of behind the curtain that fans never see. We may see these things that may have been, fictionalized on TV or stuff like that, but what was it like, and how were you told that you made the Alouettes roster for 22?
Yeah. It was about, I think the final cuts were made right after the game, or the day after the game, correct. And we had a team meeting, everyone was informed, team meeting at 4:00, I believe, in the locker room. Mm-hmm. Obviously there was cuts to be made, so everyone's kind of like, all right. And then slowly, like, as the day went by, because we were all staying in the Evo, you kind of saw guys, moving with their bags and stuff. The sad part of it, got their suitcases and all, like, heading back. And then, a couple of guys that I was friends with or became friends with on the team, kind of letting me know, hey, I got the call, I was cut. So then, as time went by, you're kind of like, well, no news is good news, right? In this case. So then when we got to the stadium, we had the team meeting. And then after, they brought a couple of us, they asked a couple of us to go to Danny's office. And then that was when figured out that we were on the team, but practice squad. But it was, it was a moment, you dream of every day. And, that's why I play football. And, genuinely, it kind of brought tears to my eyes, like, when I figured out that I made the team. It reminded me of when I signed the contract. But they told me, whatever, I impressed them, and they'd really like to see me grow here, behind Vernon, Trevor, and Dom and their knowledge. And then you got, the legend of Anthony Calvillo coaching. So, that was kind of the conversation.
So that's it. That's what we love to hear. It's just that hard work truly does pay off, doesn't it?
For sure. Yeah, ask Cole Speaker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Obviously you were in the practice roster for quite a few weeks, but was it the same? Did you have the same reaction when you were told that you're actually being activated to the active roster?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. That was definitely cool, and just being able to suit up. But obviously, you don't wish injury upon anybody. And when VA, had the elbow injury, I was like, shoot, VA is my guy. So I was like, man, that's, it's unfortunate, but. Obviously he didn't make me feel bad about it. And he was like, man, it's a hell of an opportunity for you. And just that first game, running out of the tunnel, that was another, one of those moments where you're like, man, this is so cool. Just brought chill. Obviously the preseason is a good atmosphere, but, nothing like a regular season game, So running out of the tunnel and just brought chills to me. And it was just like, man, this is it. This is what we do. This is what we do it for.
Not to mention seeing your name on the back of a jersey. It has to be just such a trip.
For sure, yeah. You experience that in the preseason. That right there is it's actually funny because after the Hamilton game, I didn't, you never know. I don't know how the cuts work or any of that. So after the Hamilton game, they asked us all to throw in our jerseys, and I actually kept my jersey just in case I was going to get cut, just so I could have the jersey with my name on it. And then, like the next week, they're like, "Hey, do you still have your jersey?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I accidentally put it in my backpack. I'm sorry." I gave it back to them, but yeah, I was not. If I was getting cut, I was keeping the jersey.
I was gonna say that's a bold strategy. They can't cut me if I have their jersey.
Yeah, I wanted, for the memories for sure.
What about your number there, Davis? Because I think in preseason you had a different number, then you switched to 17, if I'm not mistaken, in the regular when you got the actual spot on the practice roster. Any significance behind either of the two numbers?
Yeah. So I wore 6. They gave me 6 when I first got here. Obviously, Darius Pickett is number 6, so I couldn't keep it when I made the team. But 6, I wore 6 in college at Portland State. My brother wore 6 in high school, so it's just kind of a cool coincidence. And my brother definitely inspired me and the way he played the game, and it's just a cool little coincidence. I just kept with 6, and then when they asked me, I had a couple different numbers to choose from, and I just like 17, thought it looked all right, so I rolled with it. No crazy significance behind 17.
Okay, and there, just to let you know, that there is some history behind the number 17. It was a gentleman who played one hell of a defensive back, Billy Parker. He was with the Alouettes for quite a few years, so it may have been to a defensive back the number that you currently have now, but still, there's still quite a lineage behind that number.
Yeah, nice. That's cool. I didn't know that.
Not to mention Trevor wore 17 when he was traded to the Alouettes last season.
That's true too. Yes.
Yeah, he was going to give me his backpack. He had a 17 backpack, but obviously we got new ones. So,
well, it's the thought that counts.
For sure.
All right, Davis. We've talked about football with you, but let's talk about you personally. Like when you first came to Montreal, did you have any expectations about the city itself? Like what did you know about Montreal before you came to Alouettes training camp?
Yeah. I knew it was like French Canadian based. I knew that, maybe I'm wrong here, but I still think the primary language is French, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Fine. Yeah. So I knew that. And then I knew it's a big hockey town, just because, I watch hockey and I knew the Montreal Canadiens and I know that they go crazy for them. And then I knew of the Montreal Expos, big baseball fan. And then I remembered that Johnny Manziel. I was a huge Johnny Manziel fan in college. I remember that Johnny was on the Alouettes for a little bit. But besides that, I knew it was also like a pretty big city and, people have a lot of fun here. So I knew that. But besides that, it was actually my first time ever in Canada. So I didn't know that much, I guess.
Well, and now you got a great opportunity to learn. Now that you're living here, now that you've had a chance to experience the city itself. Was there anything that really stood out to you as far like in what you've seen so far? Has anything really truly stood out to you?
I would just say the people. I mean, the people here are super. Like even with it's not a crazy language barrier, but with the slight language barrier, like everyone's super friendly and everyone's always seems to be happy around here. And also for how big of a city it is, it's extremely clean. You don't get that too often in the States, especially in Portland. Like when I was in Portland, it's not the cleanest city, but that stood out to me for sure.
And just to be clear, that is Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
not
Portland, Maine. I mean, I'm surprised too, Davis, considering that you come to camp, you literally are thrown right to the French wolves, so to speak. You're not in Montreal, really. You're going to Trois-Rivières, and obviously, there's a huge difference between the farther north you get in Quebec versus Montreal. Did you have to lean on some of the French players or some of the guys that knew French already to help you get around, or did the team say, here's a couple of things you do need to know at least while you're at camp and then when you get back to Montreal?
Oh, I mean, it was, I didn't even really try. I'm not going to lie. I didn't even try to understand what was going on. I was just, cafeteria, back to the dorm, to practice, to meetings, like, nothing. I wasn't doing anything. Mm-hmm. So, even when we were trying to, figure out, how to order certain stuff from the cafeteria, where, at some point I just had to points to some of the stuff. But, as obviously as I got more comfortable, I started asking teammates like, hey, how do I say, so-and-so or whatever. But no, it was definitely and honestly, I thought Trois Rivières was like Montreal. Like I was like, is this what Montreal is going to be like? Very similar to that. And then obviously when we came back for the Ottawa preseason game, I was like, I'm in a completely different area.
Exactly.
There's a bit of a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge difference.
And one thing we can say to you, Davis, is that, I'm sure you've gotten a little bit more used to the French language as you've gone along and met a lot of the fans, stuff like that. And we've always said this to the players that we've interviewed, is that just a little bit of French goes a long way, making a huge impression on the fans here in Montreal. Even if it's just as little as saying bonjour or comment ça va, as long as you show that you're going to make an effort and at least to try to speak to them in French, again, you'll make a huge impression on the fans, and they'll remember you quite well.
So yeah, it's definitely definitely something that I want to work on a little bit in the off season. I've thought about it just because I have a lot of time off in the off season, just training and working out and stuff. But definitely something that take an extra look at.
Yeah.
Sure. There you go. Just fire up the Duolingo or the Rosetta Stone, whatever it is, and just brush it. Could you imagine, Davis? You come back to your training camp in 2023, and right away to the mostly French media, you go bonjour, and everybody, and just a couple of quick words in French. Everybody's gonna be blown away. Like, oh man, we got to pay attention to this guy now.
Oh yeah, especially. I think some of my teammates would die laughing, but I got to do it.
Just like I said, food for thought. Food for thought.
Exactly. Ask funny. Speaking of food, Davis, we want to know what kind of the restaurants that you've gone to here in Montreal. Anything sort of caught your eye that is become a mainstay in your with stuff that you eat?
People aren't gonna like this one, and maybe I just need suggestions. But I have not really been a fan of the poutine. I think, but to me, honestly, like the gravy and the cheese, it's awesome, but the fries are just a little different here. And I think maybe that's what's doing it for me. But, like any suggestions, seriously, I'll take them, because I remember I said that, I think in one interview, and one of the fans on the field was like, what the hell, Davis? You don't like poutine? I was like, hey, maybe I haven't had the right one yet. But you can find any food here, which is something that I love. I love all types of food, Chinese. I am looking for a Hawaiian spot, like a Loco Moco or anything like that. So if you have any suggestions there, let me know. But I don't know if there's necessarily one spot that I've been to that kind of stood out. I mean, there's some really good sushi spots I've been to. Me and Tyson go all the time. But Jiao, it's like a dim sum place that's really good. That's I don't know if that's a very good answer.
No, not at all. Because and we players have not necessarily liked poutine when they've tried it. Cliff and I always say it depends on where you go and where you've had it at, because you don't want to get a poutine from McDonald's. There's no way in hell you want to do that. You want to go to some of the places like maybe a La Belle Provence, which makes a pretty good fast food poutine, but they're also the higher scale ones also, which I know Cliff has mentioned before too, right, Cliff?
Absolutely. And you know what, Davis, if need be, we will take you and get you a proper poutine so you can make a fair and honest assessment of it. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But as far as I'm concerned, it really just comes down to the taste. You're absolutely right. There are some places where it's all about the cheese, the sauce, the fries. I mean, it's all got to work in perfect harmony. And maybe that's what it is you just had a less than stellar one. So we're going to fix that for you. We will help you out with that.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it for sure.
What do you do in your off time, Davis? I mean, it's obviously besides studying the playbook and getting ready for your next opponent, but what do you usually do to wind down?
I mean, seriously, like I really watch sports a lot. I got 2 TVs in my room right now. I got my iPad. I got my phone. So sometimes I swear to you, I'll have 4 games going at once just to sit back, relax. I actually do enjoy like going out to restaurants and stuff and just trying different things, different experiences, meeting different people. But seriously, That's about it. I'm a huge sports fan. Like, genuinely could watch any sport in the world and somehow make fun of it. So, I'm sorry, make fun. Like, it being fun.
Have fun with it.
Yeah.
We get what you're putting down. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
So does that mean we'll possibly get a chance to see you at a Montreal Canadiens game before you head back home?
Oh, I've gone. I went to opening night and I went for my birthday, so I've already gone to 2.
Nice.
Oh, geez, there you go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you're not kidding. You really you do enjoy hockey. And what did you think of the experience of the Montreal Canadiens? Like, seeing them live here in Montreal?
Oh, it was super cool. The opening night was a hell of an experience, and it was a crazy game versus Toronto. But no, it was super fun. And then I went to the let's see, they played. I don't know. They were smacking them. It was like 5-0 going into the third period. Oh gosh.
Hey, you know what? They
Arizona?
won. They won anyways. That's all that matters.
Arizona. Oh, yeah, it was Arizona. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went to that one, and I think the final was 5-1 or maybe 1. But the crowd's electric. Everyone has a good time. I can't tell you, like, so many people were trying to buy me beers, like, and stuff. It was awesome. There's great people.
There you go. It doesn't get any better than that.
No doubt.
Yeah.
All right, Davis. We've obviously got a big game coming up this weekend. Playing the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I know there's so much history. Just this season alone, there's been so much history between these two teams. When it comes to game preparation, what's the one thing you guys are looking at more than anything else?
For this week, like, in particular? Sorry.
Yes.
Let's see. Trying to say without giving too much away. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, let's switch it up then. Let's talk about the mindset. Like, obviously, it's winners go home, or I guess winners stay home. How do you approach that, knowing that, okay, you're the hometown team, you obviously got the advantage in that sense, but how are you guys approaching this game as far as knowing that you've faced these guys before and you pretty much have to win to go on?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm people are going to say it's a high pressure situation and all that, but I genuinely do feel like, we're 2 practices in so far, one more practice tomorrow, lighter practice tomorrow, but I genuinely feel like our intensity is, as it should be, at its highest that it's ever been. Our focus is exactly where it needs to be at. We're literally taking it one day at a time, not looking too far ahead, not even looking too far ahead at the game. Like, every day, we're trying to win the day. Sounds corny, I get that, but it's true, and that's truly what we preached this whole week of practice. And it's been awesome to see, and it's almost like, we just hit a playoff switch mode, and I'm excited for it. And then, maybe to answer your last question, just we've really touched on focus, like focusing in our playbooks, focusing on our assignments each play. That's something that's really been hit on the head a bunch, I would say, particularly this week.
I'm curious, when you talked about win the day, did that come from Coach Calvillo?
No. Just variety of guys on our team who have made that a statement. I actually don't think I've heard Coach AC say that yet.
Okay, I'm going to explain why. Because back when the Alouettes won the back-to-back Grey Cup championships in 2009, 2010, the theme of the team was win the day. And AC, of course, was the quarterback that helped the Alouettes win those 2 Grey Cups. So I'm just wondering if he sort of is trying to impart that on you guys, like just thinking back to his championship experience here in Montreal and just wanting to, I guess, get you guys thinking that same way as well. Yeah,
no, I'll tell you what AC has said a lot this week is earn the right to play next week. That's what we've been hearing it since last in Toronto. Earn the right, earn the right, earn the right. He's making sure that we understand that nothing's given, especially in this league. But we got to work for everything, but it's all right out in front of us. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But a lot of our leadership and a lot of our mottos for this week, it is truthfully, it's come from the players, which is that's a sign of a great team. And we had a players only meeting. After we call it day A, so not even the first day of practice, but the first day that we all reported. And players only meeting, a handful of guys stood up and talked. And it's just beautiful. It's, there's nothing better than playoff football. So do it.
From your lips to God's ears, you said it right there.
Yeah. Davis, man, we really appreciate your time, especially with the issues that you had to deal with tonight, especially with me and the technology issues. But obviously, we wish you nothing but the best. We're glad to have you on the roster. I'm sure many other fans are agreeing with what we're saying, because we saw you have something, and we saw it in camp, and obviously we saw it in your when you were able to make your pro debut. And we hope you're here for years to come. Obviously, if fans want to follow you anywhere on social media, man, how would they do so?
Yeah, dude, I got Instagram, Davis Alexander 06. Honestly, I try and be as interactive as possible with fans. Literally, if anyone wants to chat or just, to go out or anything like that, I try and respond. And Twitter, it's Chavis Davis 7. I'm not really on Twitter as much, but if anyone reaches out, I'm sure I'd respond, and just anything to make anyone else's experience great, as the fans have made my experience great here. Even in the little time I've been here, I feel the love, and I love these people. I love this city, and I'm excited. But a lot of stuff that right in front of us right now. So yes, sir.
There you go. That you said it all, my man. Davis, once again, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck this coming Sunday. We'll be in the stands cheering you on. We want to see a win, and we know you guys are going to do everything possible to make that happen and go on to the next round. So best of luck to you, and, man, just keep doing what you're doing, because it's working, obviously.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much for having me, and don't hesitate to reach out, for anything if you need me or whatever. Hey, poutine, whatever, just let me know. It's
Oh, that'll happen. Don't you worry, man. Before you head home, we will go get that poutine. Bank on it.
No doubt.
Once again, I want to thank Davis for joining us. As we were talking about how well he did, in the season finale versus Toronto, but just after, since we've talked with him, it just shows. I think that, again, if he does become the next quarterback star for the Montreal Alouettes, I think we're in good hands.
Oh, without question. I mean, it's so tough. I mean, like, how many quarterbacks has this team gone through since Anthony Calvillo hung up his pads?
Too many.
I think too many. That's a very good answer, is too many. And unfortunately, as of this moment, Davis is unfortunately another name on that list. But now I think it's just going to come down to how bad does he want to be that name that stands out? Like, does he want to join that group, that rarefied air of like a Vernon Adams or Jonathan Crompton, and be a winning quarterback for this team that makes everybody stand up and take notice and say, hey, that's my guy. That's the guy for the future. So this time is coming for Davis Alexander. We got to see just a little taste of it this past Saturday, and I personally am excited to see what the future holds for this young man. And if that doesn't get you excited for 2023, folks, I don't know what will.
Yeah. As we're getting obviously now into the postseason of the CFL, the league itself has started to release the different lists for the awards and for stuff like that. And we mentioned last week, when it came to who the Alouettes would have as their nominations. Well, the league let us know who is going to be going to the finals. And we do have a couple of guys going to the finals, don't we, Cliff?
Oh, we sure do. I think we had high hopes for pretty much everybody who was nominated. I think that's a fair assessment to say. And You could even make the argument that every one of those Alouette nominees could have been a finalist, like an Eastern finalist. But I think we knew deep down that not every single one of them were going to be. However, the Alouettes are sending to Regina for the CFL Awards not one, not two, but 3 Eastern nominees for most outstanding awards. First and foremost, top of the list right away, the Eastern nominee for most outstanding player is none other than Eugene Lewis. Without question.
Without question. Yeah, without question.
I mean, we've spent so many episodes extolling the virtues of this man, of what he can do on the field. And the year he's had has been nothing short of outstanding. So, yeah, he's in tough because he's going up against Zach Collaros, who had a pretty damn good year himself, too. Mm-hmm. And is the defending most outstanding player from last season, looking to repeat, not just going back to the Grey Cup and possibly winning it, but he's looking to be a 2-time MOP. Standing in his way, though, is Eugene Lewis. Are the voters going to see Eugene's outstanding accomplishments? more so than they would Zach Collaros, because we kind of expect that out of him, whereas Eugene really came alive this season. Only time's going to tell, but I tell you what, it's just incredible and outstanding to think that Eugene Lewis is not just the Alouettes nominee for most outstanding player, but the entire Eastern Division nominee.
Yep, and
that's tremendous.
And yes, and this is how somebody put it to me today after practice. When it comes to this particular nomination, it is for the most outstanding player, not for the most valuable player.
Right.
And I would again, we don't know how this is going to turn out, but I think Eugene has a very good chance at being named the most outstanding player in the CFL.
Absolutely.
And that's not biased. That's not biased. It's just based on what we've seen Eugene do this year.
Yeah, and that's no knock on Zach Collaros either, because as I said, he also too had a very outstanding year. I mean, you can make an argument for either one of these guys. You could almost make an argument to split the award in two and make them co-winners. But
watch that happen. I've seen it happen before. Watch it happen.
Well, I mean, listen, if there's a year to do it, this would be the one, because as I said, you certainly make an argument for either one of these gentlemen. They both had pretty outstanding campaigns.
Let's not. I'm going to make a joke again. Let's not have. Hopefully, there won't be a tie, and then it'll be a recall. Anyways, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Second player. I don't think there's any surprise at all, Cliff, that the Eastern Division nominee for the most outstanding special teams player is Chandler Worthy. No surprise there whatsoever.
Not even a little. I mean, as we said last week, when they said it was Chandler Worthy as the most outstanding special teams player, Alouettes, like the Alouettes' choice for most time. And I said, you can almost make the argument for David Cote. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, just with what Chandler has done this year, I mean, it truly is spectacular. I mean, so spectacular that they ended up trading the returner from training camp to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And wouldn't you know it, Tim? That man, Mario Alford,
I know,
who was traded because Chandler Worthy was doing such an amazing job for the Alouettes that he became expendable and got traded to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And you know what? Mario Alford himself is the Western nominee for most outstanding special teams player.
That's nuts. And I've already reached out, by the way, to Steve Daniel, the CFL stats guru. First, he's going up against the team that traded him, up against the guy who, quote unquote, took his job.
Yep.
And also, is he the first player to be nominated as the Western finalist to have been traded in that same season? And if he wins, would he become the first guy to win it after having been traded? But we hope that's not the case, because Chandler, this one I think is going to be the tightest of them all, because I think Chandler, in my opinion right now, I think he is one step higher than Mario at the moment.
Yeah. And it could be buoyed by the fact that Chandler is going to play at least one more game than what Alfred is, as far as like regular season goes. But my gosh, I mean, like, both of these guys were just outstanding electric returners. And just it's incredible to think that at one point both of them were in Montreal Alouettes camp. Mm-hmm. That still blows my mind that we could afford to give away such a talent that they would be nominated by their new team and then nominated by an entire division. That's just incredible. That just speaks to the talent of both of these gentlemen, to tell you the truth.
It makes you wonder, if Super Mario had not been hurt this year and then been traded, how it would have ended up. But anyways, it's, sure, there's revisionist history, but there's really no need in looking back at it when it comes to this type of thing. But you mentioned
it's pretty outstanding, and again, hence most outstanding players.
Yes, sir. Now, by the way, you mentioned that we didn't have two, but we had three nominees that are representing the East this year. Who's the third?
Oh, we sure do have three. And we talked about it with him when he was a guest here on the Alouettes Flightdeck recently. The most outstanding rookie nominee for the Eastern Division is none other than Alouettes rookie sensation Tyson Philpott. We called our shot. We said, don't be surprised if this kid gets nominated, not just for the Alouettes nominee as most outstanding rookie, but the entire Eastern Division. And lo and behold, here he sits, going to Regina as the nominee for the East for most outstanding rookie. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've talked about what an impact he's made on this team. Having him on the show, you got to hear his story. You got to hear everything about him. And just the way he approaches this game, the way he comes ready to work and ready to shine. And that's what he does. I mean, like, whether it's on, kick returns or just now as starting slot back for the Alouettes, I mean, like, he's come as advertised. Let me tell you, like, both he and his brother Jalen have had pretty solid rookie campaigns this year, but clearly Tyson has proven that he is on another level. And as we said, we haven't scratched the surface with this guy. Like, this is his first year, first of many to come in this league. I mean, this kid is a bona fide superstar in the making. And obviously the CFL agrees, because for the entire Eastern Division, he's their guy. Now, that being said, he is up against Dalton Shawn of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And he has had a truly, truly outstanding season for the Blue Bombers. Believe me, nothing would make me happier to see Tyson walk away with this award, but man, is he in tough. That's all I'm going to say.
Out of all three awards, I agree with you. All three nominees, I agree.
You can certainly make an argument for all three of these guys being able to win their respective rewards, and I don't think anybody would walk away upset or disappointed. But man, I mean, Tyson had a phenomenal year. There's no question about that. But Dalton Shawn, he did just that. He shone this year for the for the Blue Bombers. I mean, he was just making outstanding catches. He was such an integral part of the Blue Bomber offense.
He shone bright.
It's funny to think about the fact that Dalton Shawn and Zach Collaros connected for touchdowns this year, and now they're both going to be nominees and could both possibly walk away with the hardware for Eugene Lewis, for Chandler Worthy, and for Tyson Philpott to get those Eastern nods, knowing full well that no matter what happens, they'll be going to Regina and they could be walking home with some hardware.
Yeah, is
pretty outstanding. And I sincerely hope all three of these guys go there, get the award, come home, and be able to say, yeah, I was that guy in 2022.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And good luck to all the guys, obviously. I think we can come away with two, in my opinion, at most two, most outstanding players in their position in the CFL. We'll see what happens come the 17th. The league at 12:30, it was about 12:30-ish or so when the league originally put out their first listing of All-Stars.
Regional All-Stars.
Yeah. Originally, it was only listed as Eugene Lewis and Najee Murray. Well, it started making the rounds with some of the reporters in Canada that there's a little something going wrong. And so there was a backtrack, a recall, a recount. That was what I was joking about earlier before. Mm-hmm. Enough so that everything was wiped from the CFL website, including all the tweets and stuff like that. And then the message and the statement from the league. Earlier today, the CFL issued a news release announcing this year's East and West Division All-Stars, which were voted on by the coaches, the media, and fans. A subsequent examination has revealed that an error was made in the tabulation and weighting of votes, which resulted in errors in the release. The CFL offers its sincere apologies to everyone involved, especially the players who were incorrectly announced as All-Stars or incorrectly left off the list. We have also issued an apology to the Canadian Football League Players Association. The responsible for this mistake rests solely on the CFL and not those who cast ballots or the CFLPA. We also want to apologize to our fans for this unacceptable error, and a correct list will be issued shortly. Now, when this came out, Cliff, you see some analogies which were utterly ridiculous. One saying this was just as bad as when Ottawa drafted somebody a player who had already passed away. Some were saying that this was, I think they're just blowing it way out of proportion. Is this a bad look? Yes. But I think in my thought, before we announce which Owls made the list, the final list, is that the one variable this year that was different from years past was that they actually added the fan vote into this. And they were talking about, they use it specifically in their actual statement where they're talking about weighting of votes. This is where I think that whole issue occurred. I think there was a huge error in the amount with the votes that came in and the players who were chosen by the fans. The weighting was too high, and I don't think they ever announced, because obviously the CFL was running a contest to win. I think it was $5,000.
Yep.
I don't think they ever said what the weighting was for fan votes. And I think this is what caused the problem. That's why they had to retabulate these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question. It definitely was a bad look to how this all sort of unfolded. And it's easy to lay blame on so many things. The CFL did actually step forward, though, like you said, and pretty much took ownership of it,
100%.
saying it was on them, which was, let's face it, that was the only move they could have made. Because trying to backtalk your way out of this or justify or what have you just would have made a bad situation even worse. I mean, especially to letting fans vote. I mean, that will always kind of skew things, because then it turns into a popularity contest. And unfortunately now the CFL, with egg on their face, pretty much has to come back and say, you know what? Yeah, we fudged up somewhere. We're not sure, they obviously didn't go into details, but they made a mistake. They're in the process of correcting it, and they re-released the list.
And all that to say, the Alouettes went from 2 players to 4 on the Eastern All-Star team. Eugene Lewis, his 3rd selection. Offensive lineman Landon Rice, his 2nd selection. Wesley Sutton, a defensive back, his 1st selection. And Chandler Worthy, returner, in his 1st selection. Mm-hmm. There have been a lot of people who are looking just at Wesley Sutton as being the choice. And I want you... I know you're a lot better when it comes to players and stuff like that, but I want you to tell people who are questioning, why should Wesley Sutton be an all-star? Well, what would you say back to them?
Look at the progression he's done this year. I mean, especially early this year, we were kind of giving him the gears because there's a lot of elementary plays that he just wasn't making, to the point where we were even wondering, what does this guy even football? Because some of the moves he made were just DPIs, just unfortunate penalties that just, you think, okay, I wouldn't accept this from a college player, and I'm expected to handle this from a professional. Hello, this doesn't add up either.
Right.
But to his credit, he owned it. He realized, I've got to get better. I've got to be better. And my God, he worked his ass off this year to improve himself, to the point where he actually truly has become one of the studs in this Alouettes defense. Honest to goodness stud, to the point where I'm actually a little surprised that it was Darius Pickett who was given the nod for most outstanding defensive player.
Yeah.
But both those guys, I would even go so far as to say 1A and 1B when it came to outstanding defensive players. You could have made an argument for either one of them.
Would you call Darius being one of the snubs that you would say? Yeah,
because how do you make him the? I know it's a team that picks their own nominees as far as for the awards go, and obviously Adarius was not in consideration for the most outstanding defensive player for the league, for the Eastern Division. But I mean, Darius Pickett had a pretty fantastic year, but Wesley Sutton, I'd say, is neck and neck with him as far as outstanding contributions to this team. And to me, I'm very happy that Wesley Sutton was given the nod, because he truly worked for it. He really has improved himself by leaps and bounds. He is not the same player he was back in July and August. Mm-hmm. He's become a force on this defense. He really, truly has. You even got to see a little bit of it this week against Toronto. He had a couple of pretty outstanding plays when you look at it. And just consistently, every game he seems to be there. Whether it's a sack, whether it's a fumble recovery or a forced fumble, or just making some sort of outstanding play. You see number 37 there. He's the one that's in the mix. He's either making the play happen or he's a part of making that play happen. He is truly, he truly does deserve that all-star nod. There's no question about it in my mind. He really is that player. And again, one of those guys that he's gotten so much better, and I think will continue to get better as his career in the CFL goes. And I couldn't be happier for him. He really has. He's won me over big time. Like I said, we were kind of concerned at first with him, but I think he put those doubts to rest. And it's just a simple matter of going out, do your job, and do it properly. And that's exactly what Wesley Sutton has done in the second half of the season. He really has become that guy and done an outstanding job. And yeah, this award, this All-Star nomination is definitely well deserved.
For sure. And one last question before we go to the preview for the game this week. Is there any other play that you felt that on the Alouettes that got snubbed? We're talking about David Cote. He could have been, I think he could have been easily been an All-Star also, but I'm trying to think of any other players that were on the team itself. But I mean, other than Cote, I can't think of any others. Yourself?
I would not have been mad at all, especially too, like when you think about the kickers this league in the Eastern Division. I mean, you got Boris Bede, Lewis Ward, Seth Small for Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all those guys had very solid campaigns this year, and Cote definitely. I'd put him up against those guys, and I could definitely make a case for him to be nominated for an All-Star submission. As far as other players go, honestly, anyone on that defensive line, you could have made an argument for. Nick Usher, for example. I mean, before he got hurt, he was playing some pretty outstanding football too. Mike Moore, the first part of this season looked absolutely dominant. Kind of slowed a little bit. Past couple of games, he's just been, he's contributed, but not really been outstanding. So maybe that star's kind of gone down just a little bit, but not to take anything away from his overall body of work. But I mean, pretty much anyone on that the defensive line for the Alouettes, you could make an honest to goodness case for. To me, I think Usher has been the straw that stirred the drink for the most part until he got hurt. But this line just makes outstanding plays happen, and I'm a little surprised that not at least one of these guys didn't get the nod. I'm so glad that Landon Rice got the nomination, to sort of represent his guys on the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And that was definitely well deserved. But I'm really surprised that somebody on the defensive line didn't even get a look. So
yeah, I
guess Cote and let's say Usher, I'm really surprised weren't given any consideration for the All-Star team.
Okay. Final counts, by the way, East All-Stars most went to Hamilton with 11, and after the recalculation, the team with the most division All-Stars in the West were the Calgary Stampeders, also with 11. 12 national players and 2 globals were also included. Okay, you brought it up. I'm going to mention it, so we're going to start off about it. And you were very surprised because, like I said, I went to practice today, and then it was listed on the practice report. Dude, Nick Usher practiced full time. It looks like he will be playing after what we saw happen to him a couple weeks ago. I don't think either of us expected him to play in this game versus Hamilton.
Nope. And this is what you call, folks, pulling out all the stops. And you want to win this game. I mean, it really is win or stay home for the Alouettes. So, and I think Nick too wants to be a part of this. He wants to go on this Grey Cup run. And if he's healthy, if he's ready to go, like I said, I just finished talking up this guy. Like he is definitely a force, and he definitely can be a major presence, especially too going up against Hamilton. And whether it's Dane Evans or Matthew Schultz at quarterback, if he's got a chance to hunt either one of those guys down, or possibly even both, if they both play in the game, if he has the opportunity, he's going to make the most of it. And knowing that he's back practicing and looking to possibly even play this coming Sunday, that's amazing. I mean, especially too the injury that he suffered. We truly thought he was going to be finished this year.
I thought he was done. I thought he was done. And you bring up a very good point too. We, right now it looks to be Dane Evans. We saw what happened to Dane Evans 2 weeks ago. Him hurting. I think it was his throwing hand.
Yep.
So
and
we don't know.
Let's not forget we've already seen Matthew Schultz play here for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Yeah.
And we've also seen Dane Evans play too.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's true.
But I mean, like both quarterbacks can give this Alouettes team fits, but by that same token, this defense, they know these two quarterbacks very well too, and you better believe they're going to be throwing everything and the kitchen sink at these two guys, and they're going to make it for a very long day for both these quarterbacks. That much I can guarantee. This defense, I think, is going to be even more dialed in, and I think we're going to see a lot of pressure. I think we're going to see both Schultz and Evans having to run and have to be extremely creative to try and move the ball downfield. To me, I think this defense, if they're fired up, and I have a feeling they will be, I think that could very well be the key for this matchup on Sunday.
I'm going to just get the numbers out of the way real quick. Versus Hamilton in the Eastern semifinal at home, the Alouettes are 3-2 in their history versus Hamilton. They have not won versus Hamilton in the playoffs. They haven't won a playoff game since 2014, I think it is. The Alouettes are given the home favorite. They're currently favored by 3 points by 5 dimes with an over-under of 48.5 as of we speak. This is the big question here, Cliff. And we kind of alluded to it at the very beginning when we were talking about the lineup and with Stanback being in it and what type of team this is. This is the second year in a row that we're going to have the Owls go up against Hamilton. This is the second year in a row that we're going to have Trevor Harris being our starting quarterback. But there are some differences. Obviously, we're at home, and there's a huge difference in this lineup. For those of you who do not remember, Eastern semifinal last year, even though he balled out, Geno Lewis was not 100%. I'll say he was at least 50.
Yep.
He was not doing well. And obviously, Stanback didn't do that well with even though we did have a 1-2 running back combo last year, we have a different 1-2 running back and potentially a 1-2-3 running back combo this year too.
Mm-hmm.
So the depth chart is going to be a very interesting thing to look at. I would not be surprised if it's no different than what it was, if it's almost identical than what it was versus the first game versus Toronto and Montreal, less with the addition of Nick Usher.
Right.
This is going to be a different game. We are going to potentially be anywhere between 19 and 22 degrees in November at home, sunny. Looks like there's going to be no rain, except some rain in the morning if it holds true. This is a different team that played last year. But the thing is, they need to be able to win this game. That's the big hump that the Alouettes have not been able to do since 2014, and then they got garbage. We had that fantastic run in 2019. We know what happened. We know the few mistakes that VA made in that playoff game. The amazing game by Trevor Harris when he was the quarterback for the Edmonton Elks. We need, and we've been stressing this too. We need to have the Trevor Harris show up from 2019 that can do exactly what Dominic Davis did this past week versus Toronto.
Without question.
I think you've mentioned. I think Trevor started off. I think it was like 17 of 17, something like that. Back in 2019, whatever it was.
It was surgical, his performance.
Yeah,
like he carved up the Alouettes defense, which, let's not forget, was a pretty outstanding defense too. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, the Alouettes were more known for more of the high-powered offense led by Vernon Adams, but the defense was nothing to sneeze at either. And Trevor just straight up dummied them. I mean, they had no answer for him. Like, even though he had stated in interviews and even stated it recently as a reminder, like how loud it was at Percival Molson that game, that he lost his voice just trying to scream out his play calls to his teammates. So he knows how big this game is. He knows the importance of this game, and I think he knows the pressure is on him to be able to replicate that performance this time for the Alouettes. That's massive right now. So, But believe it or not, I actually think he's up for it. I think he knows the importance of this. He knows, like last year, I think the Alouettes were kind of just happy to be there. As I said, they kind of stumbled in ass backwards into the playoffs, and I got the impression they were just happy to be there. They're happy just to be included in to have that one extra game that the other teams didn't have.
Right.
I think this year has shown that this team wants to win. This team believes in itself, and we keep hearing stories about how this locker room is so strong and how these guys really truly do have each other's backs. And I think they realize, okay, we belong in the conversation. We belong here in the playoffs. We're good enough to beat Hamilton. We're good enough to beat Toronto. Hell, we're good enough to beat anyone out west. That's the mindset they've got right now, I think. And I think they need to take that with them, and they've got to be able to prove it. And they know they have to prove it, because as we've said, it's all well and good to say that you've got all this talent, you've got the right pieces in place. Now you got to show it, because as I said, solid football is not going to win the Grey Cup. You might get lucky and get by Hamilton with solid football on Sunday, but wouldn't it be better if you could have like a convincing victory, like where you can just go and smack your opponent in the face repeatedly and show that, hey, we are who we say we are. We are that team that can be the surprise. We can show that this is not the CFL East. We are that team, and we will go to the Grey Cup. And the first step is by beating Hamilton and really truly showing the fans here in Montreal, like, this is the team that this organization has said that they're going to be. Let's not forget, Gary Stern, the minority owner of the Alouettes, has been once again pumping this team's tires, and he has so much belief in this team, and he's saying all the right things when it comes to getting people fired up and getting them excited. But truthfully, the team has to deliver. It's all well and good to say all these great things and everything like that, but you got to bring it on the field. That's really truly what it comes down to, is you've got to be able to back up all this talk. And stats aren't going to do it. They don't give the Grey Cup to the team with the best stats. You got to go out and you got to win. You got to put more points on the board. You got to set the tone early. And I think if Montreal can do that, and that's something that they've been lacking. These first halves have just been mediocre at best, atrocious at worst when it comes to their on-field performance. But somehow they make the adjustments in the second half and they come alive. I would really prefer this team come alive in the first half and stay alive. Like really set the tone early. Yeah. And have Hamilton chasing them constantly, and just really just put the foot down on the floor, step on their neck, and stay there. Like that's right. That's the attitude you got to have. You got to be able to show dominance and prove that you are that team. Do as the
Alouettes did back in that Eastern semifinal at Percival Molson versus BC. Do exactly what they did there.
You're talking about in 2014.
No. I'm saying, I mean, if we want to tie this whole thing together, 25th anniversary of the U2 game, do exactly what they did back in 97.
Okay, yes. Because
score 41 points in the first half. Do what you need. Do what you need to do.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. And you know what? I think this team could do that. I think they have the weapons in place to do it. I think they got guys that want to do it bad enough. It's not just a simple matter of go out and do it. It's all about execution now at this point. You know what you have in this team. You know what your quarterback is. You know what your running backs are. You know what your receivers are. You know what this offense is and this defense. You know exactly who's going to be taking the field on Sunday. And it's just a matter of who wants it more. Mm-hmm. And I have to believe if Montreal's going to walk out of Percival Molson with the win in order to go to Toronto, they really truly have to. They got to be in that. They can't be complacent. They cannot just coast by and hope that Hamilton trips on their own toes. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Hamilton is the Hamilton team we've seen over the past 3, 4, 5 weeks has not been that team. Like they have managed to put themselves together. Things were kind of scary for a while in Hamilton, but I think this team has really rebounded. I'll go even so far as to say maybe they truly are the hottest team in the CFL as of this moment. Right now, though, Montreal has to have that momentum. I mean, they saw what they were able to do in Toronto. By the way, getting their first win at BMO Field in their history, if I'm not mistaken. So now they know that they can win at BMO Field, and they'll hopefully have the opportunity to do that again in 2 weeks. But it all starts here on Sunday against Hamilton. You got to go in there. You got to set the tone early, and you just got to, as I said, just got to punch them in the face over and over again. And if Montreal can do that consistently for 4 quarters, pile on the points, really make that statement happen. You keep talking about statement drives that the Alouettes make. Mm-hmm. Every drive, I think, has to be a statement drive at this point. You have to make it clear, hey, this team is good. They're better than good, in fact. And nobody wants to believe it. But if the Alouettes can do that, if they can set the tone early, be dominant, and prove that they are that team, they're going to walk out with a W.
Yep. And by the way, yes, you're right. That was the Owls' very first win at BMO Field.
So as far as I'm concerned, the Alouettes have momentum of their own. I mean, Hamilton's playing pretty outstanding football. They're getting their act together, I think, at just the right time. But now you got to go into Montreal, where Hamilton did not win once this year. The 2 of the 3 games that these teams played against each other, both losses for Hamilton came at Percival Molson Stadium.
Yeah, got to be careful. We saw what happened. We saw what happened with the last one. We can't get too complacent because Toronto had not won in Montreal in years.
Exactly. So
cannot get complacent.
No, and really, truly, I said before, and I'll say it again. It's win or stay home for the Alouettes.
Exactly.
Simple as that. And I don't think this team is ready to close this chapter of the season. Like they're not ready. Their story is not finished.
No.
I truly don't think it is.
No, I agree. We really appreciate everybody's time for joining us this week. We had fun talking about the regular season. We'll be talking about more, obviously. We will be back no matter what happens this week. But obviously, we're hoping to be talking about the Owls heading to Toronto for that Eastern final. So for everybody here at the Alouettes Flight Deck, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We're on Final Approach.